Well done. I am presenting on how to write a cover letter. As you can see, my name is Suleiman Bello, and I am the chairman for Sabaru Humanitarian Foundation. You can contact me anytime through my email, which is indicated there, or we can connect up through LinkedIn, Google Scholar, or ResearchGate, and other social handles. Now, why do we have to learn this subject of writing cover letter? Usually, cover letter is what is used by employers to determine the writing skills of the applicant. And cover letter also serves as a means of providing clarification to the CV that you are going to attach. Then this cover letter serves as the determinant on how serious you are, because you can believe with me that nobody will spend his time to go through the requirements for an application and put off a cover letter in line with those requirements if he is not serious. This cover letter also serves as an opening act, so that is why we have to take it with all the seriousness that it deserves, because it is the first selling point. It's a kind of first contact with the employer, because it is the person to be read by the employer. So if it is well written, then the employer will pick interest and will read the remaining portion of the application. Otherwise, the employer may decide to leave the application from there, or may lose interest, will just go through it and will lose interest, even if something tangible has been written thereafter. The cover letter normally leads the reader to your CV. Now, how do we write a cover letter? It is very important if you can remember how you write an essay and a formal letter, because the same knowledge applies here to some certain degrees. When you are writing essay, remember you have to give it a title, and you must have an introductory paragraph, body, and then conclusion. Similarly, when you are writing a formal letter, you have two addresses: your address as the writer, and you have address of the recipient, that is the employer in this case. Then we have salutation, dear so so so, you mention the full name. Then title in capital letters or in normal sentence case underlined. So, and then when you go inside, you have introduction, body, conclusion. Yeah. So, similar to this formal letter, this cover letter that we are talking about is just the same thing as a formal letter. Yeah, highly similar to formal letter. Now, after you finish writing the addresses and the salutation, for instance, dear Professor so 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 and so so so, dear Dr. so 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 and so so so. If the name, somebody would like to ask, how can you know the name of the person you're addressing? Usually, you don't need to address it to a name, though it depends on the opponent. If the opponent clearly stated that you are sending the application to so 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 person, then you have to make sure you indicate dear so so so, both the title and whatever, and the full name. Otherwise, you address it to the office that, based on the call, it is demanded that you are addressing that letter there. Otherwise, you can address it to whom it may concern. Now, after that, you create a title for it. I said, when you are writing a title, you use capital letters, or you can use sentence case and underline. Then you come to writing the main content of the letter. You can decide to write paragraph 1 is just introduction. So make sure that under this introduction, you state clearly how did you heard about the advert. What are you specifically applying for? Maybe there is a call for many different positions. So you have to state clearly what you are applying for right from the introductory paragraph. Then you mention the little background about your current education. If you pass through different levels of education, it is important you mention the last one or the current one that you are pursuing. So with this, you have a very brief and concise introduction. Then you move to the second paragraph. Under the second paragraph, you are expected to discuss your knowledge now in a little bit more detail, your skills and the work experience. While you are doing this explanation or discussion, you are to emphasize on skills and achievements here because these are very important as far as employment is concerned, skills and achievements. Don't forget, when you are mentioning skills, you have to explain where and when did you obtain that skills. When I say where and when, I'm not saying you should mention in so yeah, but you should give a kind of narration as to maybe some certain volunteer works you did or some certain jobs you did previously in which through those jobs you were able to acquire so skills. Those skills could be hard skills or soft skills. Somebody would like to ask what are hard skills and what are soft skills. As you can see in the picture here, hard skills are acquired through formal education and training programs. Any training program, formal education is part of hard skills. Examples, it could be writing, mathematics, programming, nursing, or whatever. But job success require beyond hard skills. You should have also what we call soft skills. So you are supposed to digress about your hard and soft skills and how you acquire them through the previous works and what have you under paragraph number 2. These are some of the soft skills that are in demand: communication skills, self-motivation, leadership skills, responsibility, teamwork, problem solving, decisiveness, ability to work under pressure and time management, flexibility, negotiation, and conflict resolution. These are very important soft skills. You don't have to possess all of them, but you should be able to, under this paragraph, explain some of these skills and how you acquire them through your previous works. Now, after the second paragraph, you move to paragraph 3. It is in under paragraph 3 that you are expected to explain what makes you the best candidate for the job. This you can only do this after you have finished studying the requirement for the job and you have carefully reviewed your CV and itemized how your CV correlated properly with the requirements for the job. So under this paragraph 3, you explain why you are the best candidate for the job. Or in other words, why should you be hired? Here you should avoid generalization. So I will use this opportunity to remind you there are many sample cover letters out there when you browse, but it is generally not advisable to be browsing cover letters and using the same pattern in your writing because these hiring managers are normally human resource experts and they are very familiar with all those samples, so they should be able to detect that. So please avoid any generalization. Try to be natural. Try as much as possible to write based on your own idea. And the only way you can learn this is by doing it. So under this paragraph 3, try to convince a hiring manager that you are knowledgeable about their company. So before you start writing a cover letter, it is very important that you critically study the requirements of the job, the call, and what have you. And then it is very important sometimes to do a very little research, no matter how little it is, about the company. Go to Google, search about the company, acquaint yourself with what they do in the company and what have you, so that when you come to write, you should definitely indicate that you are familiar with their company and knowledgeable because people love hiring those who are knowledgeable about their works and their company. Now, in the last paragraph, paragraph number 4 is the conclusion. So you can see paragraph 1 is just introduction. Paragraph 2 and 3 the body, and then paragraph 4 is conclusion. Normally, this cover letter should be done completely in one page, but in some certain exceptional situations, it can run beyond one page, but in no condition shall it go beyond 2 pages. So, paragraph number 4 under this is basically a conclusion. So, you tell them the resume is attached. Just say, find attached my curriculum vitae for your perusal or something of that nature. Then you call them to action and then intend to follow up. Just indicate to them that you have an intention to follow up to know about the level of your application at a certain time in future, that you are a kind of ready to follow up with them. So after that, then you write thanks, yours faithfully, you append your signature, you write your full name, email address, phone number, something like that, the way you can be contacted. You can see sometimes, like in this picture, you can see there is no address of the writer because some people simply use letter-headed paper. And when you are using letter-headed paper, you don't need to write your address because your address is already there captured in the letter-headed paper. So you only start from the address of the recipient. So you can see here a sample I got, and it contains almost all what we are talking about. You can see the salutation, company details, reason for writing the letter is stated there, salutation, your suitability for the job, attached CV, call to action, sign off, and whatever. It's just an example, which you can is just for you to see the kind of way it is structured, a kind of anatomy. Yeah. Now, what are the do's and don'ts? Whenever you are writing a cover letter, you have to make sure that the letter is engaging and convincing. It's just like you are doing a kind of fundraising. You have to convince somebody before he can give you funds to do a certain job. So similar to that, you have to make sure that the letter you write is engaging and convincing. It will convince the hiring manager or the company to give you the job. You have to have a very good command, a language command, in such a way that you convince the reader, in this case, the recruiter, to give you the job. So, and also when you are writing, you have to make sure that you are writing formally. There is no room for using any informal language. Don't use any informal language. It has to be clear. You are writing your sentences. You don't have to impress anybody. Use a very simple English. In as much as possible, use simple sentences. In only small cases, you can use complex sentence or something of that nature. But majority of your sentences should be simple sentences. There should be clarity. It should be very clear, precise, and it should demonstrate that you are knowledgeable about the company or the organization that you are applying for. It should be able to state the position you are applying for clearly, because sometimes the advert will require many different positions. So if you didn't state clearly the position that you are trying to apply, then maybe your application can go into the wrong position, and at the end of the day you may be disqualified just because of that, because your paper went in the wrong hand. It's very important that in the letter you state clearly who you are in terms of skills, in terms of qualification, and the likes, as I explained previously. Why are you qualified? You should try as much as possible to make sure that the letter is written within a single page, because these hiring managers are always busy. They don't have time to read, things that are too lengthy. They should be able to read it in the shortest time possible. Now, if there is full name of the recipient, it's better for you to address the recipient by his name. If you are in doubt, you can search the internet. If that will help, you should use title properly. Ensure you spell the name correctly. Ensure you spell the name correctly. Yeah. Then you should use title properly. If there is title, you should be able to use that title properly. But if there is no title, please don't just say dear Mr. So so so, because some names you can confuse them for males, meanwhile it's actually name for females. So instead of that, don't put Mr. or Mrs. when you are not sure about the gender. Just put the full name, dear, then you write the full name without Mr. or Mrs. when you are not certain about that. When there is no name, you can write to whom it may concern or something of that nature. When you are writing cover letter, you don't need to say dear sir, that's a salutation, but you can write full name if you don't know the title. For instance, dear Abdullah Hakim Zubairu is a very clear example. And after the full name, a semicolon should be used. In informal letters, we use a comma. Yeah. Then what you are applying for should be clear. You should clearly state what you are applying for, as I explained previously. Don't use generalization. For instance, some people write the opponent. I'm writing to apply for the opponent in your organization. Which opponent? So you should clearly state that you are applying for a position as, for instance, data analyst or something like that. Also pay attention to formatting and other requirements if provided by the company or whatever. It's always important, as I said, to study the call properly, because it is from the call or the advert that you will know what is required. If there is any formatting requirement, they can see when you are writing your letter, use font size Times New Roman font size, this. If they didn't state it, then you can use your own initiative. But if they give formatting requirement or any other requirement, make sure you adhere strictly to the requirements. Then in conclusion, what I want to mention here is all this what I presented is not a kind of a strict rule. It's just a guide, something that will guide you to know how to write this cover letter. So there is no hard or fast rule about this. It's always flexible. It's just a guide. Yeah, you can see some cover letters may not strictly follow this format, but in a much extent they are highly similar to this format that I am explaining. So this presentation serves as a guide and is by no means comprehensive. You can try consulting other sources to learn more on how best to write this, and you can browse to get more some kind of sample cover letters, so that from there you can uh, learn more on how to write this, and you start writing. Let me remind you this: the only way you can learn writing is by practicing it. Writing, so you can be taught how to write, but the only way you can learn how to write is by practicing it. So if I am you, I will just try and start looking for some adverts, even if they are outdated, and I will start writing cover letters. You can submit, if you like, you can even submit to me through my email. I will go through it and make comments. If you submit through my mail, it's better if you can submit Word format. I will go through it and make corrections and make comments and send back to you. Maybe through that, as you keep doing it with time, you will find out that you become proficient. So writing is only learned when you keep doing it over and over again. You can search for, sample cover letters, but don't try to just replicate what is in the sample cover letter, because some people are in the habit of just downloading a sample cover letter and just editing it to fit their purpose, which is very wrong. You should try to be innovative and try to be yourself, because you may not get a cover letter that exactly matches your abilities and what have you. So templates cannot speak your situation. They are speaking someone's situation, and situations are always unique. Thank you very much for giving me 20 minutes of your time to listen to this presentation. If you have any questions, my email is there. You can always reach me, or you can contact me through my WhatsApp. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm grateful. Bye-bye.